I just played in the NAWCQ in Austin, Texas last week, and honestly, I didn't really have fun. Now, we didn't do too hot in the tournament, ended up with an X2-1 record going to round 9 before my opponent double knocked us out because they wanted to take their time siding and not go to game 3. But the main reason why is because I felt the format itself was just not very enjoyable. Now, I strictly said not fun because I actually do think the format is somewhat skilled. Like, despite a lot of people saying that this is an auto-win format and, you know, people just sling around hand traps, whoever has like FIENDSMITH combos resolves or Snake Eye Ash just wins. There are actually a lot of micro scenarios that keep coming up that I think are very, very skill relevant, and getting reps in and understanding how cards work and how interactions work is key to actually winning in a format like this. In fact, literally all of my losses and even the draws were my own fault. Like misplays, I was dropping combos, I was messing up sequencing, I was not playing around certain hand traps and made the awful play into like a draw. Basically, all of my losses were actually winnable. So personally, I feel like if I had played correctly, I would have topped. So the format, skill-wise, I think it's definitely still there. But enjoyment-wise, creativity-wise, it's not so much. And then there's the other issue with time. Like, the time rules are literally abysmal right now, especially as Yu-Gi-Oh gets more and more complicated. 45 minutes is just nowhere near enough to actually finish a match, and a lot of players are now taking advantage of this by citing toxic cards like Spooky Dogwood. On top of that, they keep printing burn effects like Lacrima to literally burn and have a win con in time, therefore incentivizing players to actually take advantage of this and try to burn their opponents for time as a win condition. It just makes games a lot less fun when you draw your opening hands in time and hope that you have a hand trap like Dimension Shifter or Spooky Dogwood, or otherwise you lose, like what happened in the EWCQ. It's not very fun either. When literally your golden ticket to Worlds hinges on whoever draws the hand trap or does not draw the hand trap, which meant that the game was just over on the spot. Now, if Shifter was not drawn, the game was still over on the spot because the Snake Eye player would have just burned with Lacrima. But again, I just didn't have fun. I feel like this format is just not creative at all. Everything just hinges around FIENDSMITH. There's obviously FIENDSMITH Snake Eyes, FIENDSMITH Yugioh, TENPAIs, and then the rest of the decks just kind of limp in somehow if you get lucky. And honestly, from a creative standpoint, I think that's just really boring. There's not a lot of room for deck building or innovation, and the game's just not very enjoyable when literally one card just has to resolve for you to lose the duel, because yeah, any card is literally full Snake Eye or full FIENDSMITH combo now. You have a bunch of extenders, a bunch of cards, you have the Black Witch, you have Snake Eye Ash, you have FIENDSMITH, and worst of all, the fact that we got these 2 broken new TCG exclusives, which, by the way, I like it when they released high power level TCG exclusives, but not when you can literally now take advantage of cards like M7 and use any 2 monsters to full Snake Eye combo thanks to the FIENDSMITH stuff. So yeah, that to me was just not very fun personally. But hey, if you guys are actually enjoying the format and want to win, I'm happy to announce I have 2 masterclasses, the first of which is FIENDSMITH Snake Eyes. It goes very in-depth into everything you need to know about the deck. We go over basically every single end board that you need to know in order to play around Nibiru and also the other hand traps in the format, and also how to beat certain matchups, how to tailor your end boards to beat a given matchup, and of course important deck building advice like how to side deck, what cards to take out for a given matchup, what cards to take out going first and second. I can straight up say with confidence right now that none of these plays are available anywhere on YouTube or on the internet, and only the top players are actually aware of these lines right now. For the TENPAI lovers, there's a TENPAI masterclass that goes over more or less the same thing just for TENPAIs, and we talk about all of the matchups plus the cards that you can play for the current metagame. So the best hand traps, and more importantly, where to actually drop the hand traps so you can hurt the top decks the most. Also, if you're a Patreon member, you get 50% off both of these masterclasses, so definitely check that out. And in round 2, I actually matched up against another creator, Peeps Yugioh. For those guys that watch his stream on Twitch, he actually played a really unique deck, a Mimigul deck, and this is probably the first time that I witnessed Mimigul actually in a competitive shell. And I thought it was really creative and well put together because he went with the deck building decision to incorporate a bunch of traps and floodgates, which kind of accommodates the Mimigul dungeon that they already have, and that card obviously prevents your opponent from normal summoning when they control a face-down monster, and then also special summon monsters cannot attack on the turn that they're summoned. So when you pair those effects with other floodgates, it actually becomes really annoying. I mean, I saw Dominus Purge, Solemn Strike, Dimensional Fissure, even Needle Sealing, which was a card that I've not seen for like 10 plus years, and he actually resolved that on me. So honestly, I got really lucky. I won the die roll there. If I had not, I don't think I actually would have won that match because he had like a bunch of different traps. But yeah, it's really unique to see that there's still some creativity despite the power level of this format. But with that out of the way, honestly, Texas is just amazing. Austin's just such a crazy city. There's so much to do at night. They have a bustling nightlife on the 6th Street. The food is really great. I've been there a couple of times for Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. They had YCSs in the past, and I think another nationals there. So just really, really great city. The event itself was absolutely spectacular. And the fact that it was the largest NAWCQ of all time with like 2,600 players kind of blew my mind, especially with the power level of the format. And then the other thing with the crowd strike error, a lot of their flights got canceled, so they were not actually able to make the event. All things considered, this is actually a spectacular event. I think outside of the main event, I had a lot of fun. There were so many cool things, a lot of vendors, a lot of cool cosplays, scripted voice actor dual recording that they did was really cool. They had a token boost, like giant cards, just really, really awesome event, well put together, aside from the only thing being, well, the gameplay. You know, the format was just not very great. There's also a really, really cool event run by TCG Fandom at the end of Sunday. This was a private event that they held at a venue really close to the actual convention center. It was really, really great. Shout out to the TCG Fandom. Go check them out because this was a really awesome event. It was solid. They had drinks, they had food, they had a lot of cool giveaways, Spellground giveaways. I actually won 5 OTS packs where I pulled in Alti, Fallen Albaz, plus 2 OG Silver Player's Choice packs. So huge shout out to Michael Begaman for actually hooking me up with those sleeves. And these are actually sleeves from his personal collection like 10 years ago or something. So yeah, I'm gonna be using these at my next event. They also had a grudge match that was really epic. We saw Magical Musketeers go against FIENDSMITH Snake Eyes. It was live streamed. They're gonna have a lot of events, I know, in upcoming YCSs, so definitely check it out if they do have one. I highly recommend it. Also a great networking opportunity. There were a lot of other YouTubers and creators there, and a lot of players who were just there to have a good time. Now, with all of that out of the way, I think we have to discuss the elephant in the room, and that's the fact that a ban list is coming up. We know that. Konami has graciously communicated that there's a ban list coming up after, like, I don't know, 12 years or whatever the last time is they actually communicated changes on the ban list. You kind of have a dilemma where obviously Konami considers business above gameplay when they do build out these ban lists, so they do want to sell product. They're not going to be banning FIENDSMITH or any of the new cards. They're not going to be banning Yugioh. Phantom of Yugioh just came out. There's no chance that they're actually going to hit these cards. So that's where we kind of run into the issue. So we know that FIENDSMITH is going to stick around for at least another format, and plus there's new support coming out for them, so that means that they're probably going to stick around for more than one other format. And then there's the other issue where Snake Eyes is literally getting new support that gives them a fusion Omni Negate, and FIENDSMITH Snake Eyes is officially tier 1 again in the OCG despite having a huge plethora of hits to their consistency. We're talking about 2 Bonfires, 1 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Wanted, and yet the deck is still basically full power and dominating over there, despite them having 3 copies of Max C and 3 copies of the new Mulcharmy Floros, which is another Max C basically. So the deck is still like crazy good, which raises the question, how on earth are they actually gonna hit Snake Eyes in the TCG? Because we have not yet suffered any hits to the ban list, okay? The ban list in the OCG to Snake Eyes has been gradual over a couple of different ban lists, slowly hitting their consistency. And I just don't think that the deck will be hit at all if we're just doing consistency hits where we limit Ash or like limit Wanted. The deck is still gonna be insanely good, especially because there's no Maxi keeping it in check in the TCG. So barring something crazy like a Flamberge or an original ban, which after the fact, I still think the deck is going to be somewhat viable. They literally have to hit this deck in every single direction. We're going to have bans on top of limits, on top of semi-limits, anything to make it so that they're not playable even with the new support. Because the way it is now, I feel like the deck would still be highly relevant. Even if Flamberge or even Original got banned, the deck would still be good because you're just still snowballing a bunch of bodies. Tempo, Poplar, those cards are just insanely good. So it's really difficult. I mean, I almost feel like a ban list will hit Snake Eyes, but then they'll still be good after the new set drops. And also decks like Yugioh are just not going to get hit at all. Even TENPAI, I'm not even sure if they'll get hit. Even if the field spell goes to 1, the deck is still top 3 in the OCG, and we're getting a lot of new cards for it. We're getting a new Mulcharmy, which boosts it up quite a bit, as well as a new card, Dominus Impulse. Yeah, so they're actually printing a hand trap that negates a card effect that allows you to special summon, which is absolutely nuts. It's literally a solemn warning that you can activate as a hand trap, and TENPAI Dragons can actually incorporate it. So now we're getting 2 crazy new hand traps for TENPAI Dragons who actually like going second, which is just insane to think about, right? Even with 1 field spell, the deck is just really good in the OCG, so I can't see it actually dying out in the TCG. So at the end of the day, it seems like these 3 decks are still here to stick around even after the ban list, unless they literally do something insanely. I'm talking like a full reboot of the actual meta, much like we had in 2013. If you guys remember, after Dragon Rulers, they banned a lot of different cards, and that's actually when the list diverged. So we had our own TCG exclusive ban list versus the OCG ban list, and slowly but surely talking toxic cards like Maxi eventually got hit. But barring something crazy like a full nuke like this on the ban list, I think it's gonna be like more or less the same format with the power creep trickling up higher and higher. So Infinite Forbidden and Rage of the Abyss, the power creep is just getting insane. And like the Fiendsmith stuff is obviously crazy, but we're also getting new hand traps in the new set. We're getting new cards that do a lot of crazy stuff. It seems like we're on the trend where TCG exclusives are now going to be broken again. So I'm a little worried in terms of the power level, but personally I want to see creativity flourish a bit more in the game. So hopefully they do initiate something drastic with the ban list. Anyways, enough rambling. I just wanted to say the NAWCQ was a lot of fun. The format, not so much, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about the format in general. Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know, how do you think that the ban list will actually address the issue of decks like Snake Eyes being insanely good? Let me know in the comments below. Smash that like button. We'll see you guys next video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Bye-bye.